Some folks simply call it tradition, but it's much, much more. Some say it's a way of reliving history. Others say it's a weekend of fun and excitement. A weekend eagerly anticipated all year. It's the Tennessee Valley Old Time Fiddlers Convention. The first weekend in October, Athens, Alabama, is brimming with sounds of fiddles, dulcimers, harmonicas, guitars, banjos, and a variety of hybrid and homemade instruments. Musicians come from more than 30 states, and even some foreign countries, just to soak in the environment and enjoy all the music. Some enjoy playing and competing, but everyone enjoys listening. The history of old-time folk fiddle music has been traced back to the beginning of Limestone County and the city of Athens. Originally, the area was settled by descendants from immigrants who came from the British Isles. These early settlers brought with them strong traditions of fiddle music and other instruments of the period. Since that time, and through today, this area has been rooted in the popular melodies. In the 1920s, bands of musicians were the primary source of entertainment. Square dances were held weekly along with box suppers. Saturdays were trade days and large crowds gathered to shop. There were always musicians who would find each other and serenade the townsfolk. Sometimes these gatherings turned into miniature fiddle contests. As these gatherings grew in popularity, the inevitable happened. W.H. Johnson, principal of the Agricultural High School, organized and staged the first Athens Fiddle Convention in 1924. This site is now Athens Middle School. It was this event in 1930 that launched the careers of Limestone County natives, the Delmore brothers. From their win at this event, they were awarded a contract with Columbia Recording Company and enjoyed many years as regulars on the Grand Ole Opry. The Depression of the 30s made a deep impact in North Alabama. Interest faded and old-time fiddlers put away their instruments. Radios had become more accessible and local folks wanted to listen to more sophisticated music. Some were even embarrassed to be associated with old-time fiddling. It appeared that old-time fiddling was passing away. It was in the mid-1960s. The world was changing with such a rapid pace, it was difficult to keep up.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Radio, television, and movies were exploding with new adventures and modern entertainment. With all this newfangled stuff going on, some of the older, seasoned fiddlers were becoming rather melancholy and missing the simpler times and the music they loved to hear and loved to play. They started dusting off their beloved instruments and found that their playing skills soon returned, some better than ever. They were playing forward and with each other in their homes. Several of the old-timers were sitting around playing and picking at Sam McCracken's house down next to the Elk River out in the western part of the county. That night, the Tennessee Valley Old Time Fiddlers Convention was born right there in Sam McCracken's living room.
The first one was held at the old West Limestone School. It was just overrun with people, so they approached the college in 1967 about having it here. I was put on the committee as a representative from the college. I was assistant business manager. And it was held in the gym, and I think we had about 1,800, 2,000 people. We had it in the gym for up until 1978, and I became co-chairman then, and we moved it outside. which was very controversial. Everybody said it couldn't be put on outside. It wouldn't go over outside. Howdy Foster, Roy Acuff's fiddler, used to come down on Friday nights and jam. And Roy Acuff himself was interested in this convention because we were preserving the old time music. He gave us a lot of good advice, told us to keep it informal. We started to leave and he told us to listen to his segment of the Grand Ole Opry that Saturday night. And he at the end of his show, he said, "I've got some friends down at Athens, Alabama that are trying to preserve our old time music," and gave the date and time. And we had about 7,000 people show up, thanks to him. We couldn't have bought that kind of publicity. From that, it moved outside and it's grown every year.
My favorite part of being involved with the Fiddlers Convention is being involved with the Fiddlers Convention. A legacy of passing on the old-time string music and fiddling, which is something that, you know, I'm proud of and involved in other contests, you know, back home and around, and think it's important. But a friend of the family who's now passed, Jody Hall, probably says it, I'm going to quote him, he says it better than anybody I've ever heard it said. He says that he loves the music, but he loves the people better. When we leave here at the end of the contest, we immediately start talking about the next year's contest, but not in the form of a contest, but in the form of a reunion. We get to see people only here. I love the music, but I love the people better. And when I'm able to see them. Last year, I wasn't able to be here. And when I saw some of it, was a tearful moment because I hadn't seen these people in 2 years. This is where I get to see them. Athens, Alabama, first full weekend in October.
I guess my first time to attend an Athens Old Time Fiddlers Convention was in 1982 or 83. And I was introduced to this by a fiddle playing mentor of mine, Jerry Clemens. So he said, "Hey, you need to go to the Fiddlers Convention." What is that? Well, it's a competition they have at Athens, and it's a big one. You need to go. And so I did, and I was amazed by what, you know, what goes on at this festival. There were musicians everywhere. There were shade tree jam sessions being played over here and over there, and just every direction you turn, there was a place that you could go and sit and watch different people play.
There'll be dozens of jam sessions going on behind Founders Hall. They come and just jam. There'll be 2 or 3 people playing, and somebody will walk up and join them, then somebody else will join them, and they'll jam for a couple of hours or so and don't even know each other's names.
From a picker standpoint, we look for opportunities to play as often as we can, and it didn't matter, just as long as we got with someone that would motivate us to play something or motivate us to try to play something we didn't know. That was, I think, the best way to learn. This Fiddlers Convention offered ample opportunities to do things like that. When I first started attending these, it was just competition for the most part. In the last 5 or 6 years, there's been a focus on providing a top-notch group to come in, some professional musicians from bluegrass or otherwise, like the Riders in the Sky, etc. So I've seen those changes occur, and I think that from my point of view is a good change. For me, it's a good entertainment.
Over the years, the numbers have kind of gone up and down, and then maybe several years ago, the numbers kind of dropped off a bit. And we were trying to decide what could we do to bring the numbers back. So we considered having some professional people come in and do a show. Friday night was our slowest night, so we decided to try that. Bring a professional group in on Friday night. And so we tried that, and the numbers were up enough to pay for the group. And so that was a good indication to us that it might be worthwhile to do that. So we ended up the next year having someone come in on Friday and Saturday night, and the numbers were up again. So it has been some changes. I think it has helped.
I've been involved in the music business ever since I was 9 years old. Well, I started by singing in school, and as most bluegrass singers do, they got involved in church work. I played about anything that had strings on it. Not well necessarily, but I was recognized more or less as a guitar player. But I played 5-string a little bit. Played mandolin a little bit. Back when I first started, and Jerry McLaughlin started, and Mr. Ewell there, we judged a whole lot of different categories. You know, like it might be 7 or 8 categories, as opposed to 3 or 4 now. In order to keep the thing moving and moving forward, you have to have the attendance by the younger fiddle players. And there's nothing that I like better and appreciate in these younger players of what they can do now as compared to what they could do 20 years ago. Because there's a lot more avenues to approach now than there was at that point in time.
You know, I think I attended my first Fiddlers convention in '82, and I can remember sitting out in the green area out there shelling peanuts, and we just spent a weekend listening to music and things. It was my first time, and you know, it wasn't near the crowds that we have now or anything like that. We didn't have vendors out back out here or anything like that, but it was just sort of and I just came to attend. Really, my first working with the convention, as being connected with it, was in 1996, when I came to work here at Athens State and began to work with Ewell. Ewell was really the director of it and oversaw it. I guess for a year or so, year or two, I was sort of his understudy, and then began to work with him closely on it. And then once Ewell retired, I sort of began to move into that role that he had, as far as working with the committee and keep it all moving together, and then making sure things move, run smoothly on the days of the event. A lot of people think, well, we just have it 2 days a year, Well, yeah, we have it 2 days a year, but we start talking about it, 12 months in advance, getting ready for the next year. And really, then leading up, I'd say the 6 weeks leading up to it, our maintenance department here at the university just turns it into a little city. Puts up fences, sets up an electrical system that provides lights and helps with the sound. It's just a whole effort that no one person can do by themselves. You probably got well over 100 people that help with just the gates. Think about that. You've got gate workers that work from Friday all the way to Saturday evening. Well, we got 6 gates, I guess 5 or 6 gates. So just, you do the math and you can figure out how many people we've got. People that help with the judging, we bring in and things. We bring in, the committee itself, the work it does, maintenance department. It's just a lot of, you can't imagine, I guess, how many people are really tied into it till you start to think about it.
Over the years, the Fiddlers Convention has put over $300,000 into the scholarships to help our students. It also has put $100,000 into the library building fund. All the proceeds from the convention go back into the college to help promote the college. The reason for the first weekend in October being chosen was a group went back and researched weather records as far back as weather records existed. And that was the driest weekend of the year on record every year. That weather pattern has continued. We've only had weather problems with 2 rains since that time. In 1978, when we moved the convention outside, we built a portable stage in front of the historical Founders Hall. Founders Hall was built in 1842, and it is the oldest building of higher education in the state of Alabama. Since those early conventions in the mid-60s, the convention has attracted crowds up to 20,000 people.
At one time, we kept up with the number of states through the ticket drawing, and for several years we averaged 31 states and 3 foreign countries being represented here. I know we had a German couple came one year, and through their interpreter they said they didn't understand our language, but they sure liked our music. You meet a lot of good people, it's just a fun weekend, and helps promote the old-time music, helps promote the college. And we've raised a lot of money for scholarships and various projects.
Probably the biggest tourist attraction that we have for tourism in this county each year, And when you look around, typically we'll have people from 25 to 30 different states that come here just for this event. And so, it has a financial and economic impact on our community when you look at the dollars and the hotels, the food that's bought here, the time that people spend, they fill up their cars with gas. So I think it has a very significant economic impact on the community. From a cultural standpoint, we're carrying on an old-time tradition. And when you think about that, those are the kind of things we don't want to die in our culture, and we want to keep them alive. And I think this convention, from the old-time music standpoint, has just been incredible in helping to carry on that tradition And then when you tie it in with the arts and crafts and what they look like and the kind of traditional kind of things, handcrafted things that they have available out there, I think it all ties together and it allows, again, for a tradition of our culture to carry on and be recognized each year. Over the years, when you can look back and can say, we've had a very, not just from a cultural standpoint, but we've had a very positive impact on helping people better themselves and allowing them to get a college education.
This contest in itself is a big deal. But what comes along with the contest is actually, I think, a bigger deal. You have a large swath of people, but people from all walks of life, from all different backgrounds that come here. And maybe it is for the love of music. Maybe it's for the love of crafts. Maybe it's just the love of a good story. But this university, for 50 years, and hopefully 50 years more, will continue to be a focal point for that, for stories shared, memories made. Those are the lasting, I guess, I'm gonna call them lasting memories as much as lasting experiences.
In 1982, sponsorship of the convention was passed to the Athens State College Foundation and the Athens Limestone County Chamber of Commerce. The continued growth has far surpassed the dreams of Sam McCracken and the dozen or so farmers who enjoyed the melodies and sounds of good old-time music. The music they played then was much the same music and for sure the same style as you'll hear today. But the music they played had more than just style. It had spirit, a spirit that will continue to live and grow as it is etched into our culture and into our hearts. And as that autumn approaches in the southeast, you can always hear that music come alive for that October weekend.
Casey Hart.